Pay good money for it.
Alright.
I can't.
Straight face, okay?
I'm gonna cut your neck now.
And action.
Well, it wasn't any secret to me that you were staying at the Silver Creek, seeing how I'm your #1 fan and all. Some nights I just tool on down there, sit outside, look up at the light in your cabin, and I'd try to imagine what was going on in the room of the world's greatest writer. But don't move. We don't want to cut this neck of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other afternoon I was on my way home and there you were, leaving the lodge, and I wondered why a literary genius would go for a drive when there was a big storm coming. Lucky for you, I did. Lucky for me too. Because now you're alive and you can write more books. Oh, Paul, I've read everything of yours. But the misery novels, I know them all by heart. All 8 of them. I love them so.
And cut. And action.
Well, it wasn't any secret to me that you were staying at the Silver Creek, seeing how I'm your #1 fan and all. Some nights I just tool on down there, sit outside and look up at the light in your cabin. And I try to imagine what was going on in the room of the world's greatest writer. Don't move now. I don't want to hurt this neck. Well, the other afternoon, I was on my way home and there you were, leaving the lodge, and I wondered why a literary genius would go for a drive when there's a big storm coming. Lucky for you, I did. Lucky for me too. But now you're alive and you can write more books. Paul, I've read everything of yours. But the misery novels, I know them all by heart, Paul. All 8 of them. I love them so.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, this is just a date that's not going to work out. And there's actually a point in the evening when I sort of perversely get interested in his story. He starts talking about his ex-girlfriend. And the more he talks about her, the clearer it becomes that he's still really kind of in love with her. And the more I listen to him, the more I realize that this is more or less of a first date for him too. He's recently broken up with this woman that he really loved, and he's trying to get back on the horse. And this honestly makes me feel a little warmly towards him. I sense that we are fellow travelers, so I say to him, as a fellow traveler, oh, what do I say to him? Well, why did you break up? And he tells me the story about how your relationship is like a movie, and when you're in a relationship, you see the movie in your head and you need to see how the rest of the movie is going to go. And he realized that he couldn't see where the movie was going. He didn't know the end of the movie with this woman, so he had to break up with her. He just looks so sad. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here trying to understand, so I say, what do you mean, movie? And he goes through the whole thing again about looking for the end of the movie and your life with someone and the relationship and the end of the movie. So I said, you mean death? Looking for the end of the movie. You're talking about dying. And he says, no. It's not about death, it's about the end of the movie. And we go around and around in circles like that for a while. And finally I say to him, I don't know, is it possible that you broke up with the woman you've loved because of some insane metaphor? And the rest of the evening is just so awkward and uncomfortable. I let him stick his tongue in my mouth anyway.
Okay. Rolling, speed, action.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Getting into my dad's car, smelling the seatbelt as I put it over my shoulder. Every week, a different scent. Different lipstick left behind. And a different pain that I'd never experienced until now. Mom was no different. I'd come downstairs to get a drink and she'd be kissing a different man. I only ever saw her kiss my dad up until this time. So it was heartbreaking, as of course you could imagine. My little 5-year-old brother was so confused, and I do everything and anything in my power just to make him feel comfortable, so at least one thing stayed the same in his life. The way I felt that day that they told me that my dad was moving out, I'll never forget the emotions and physical pain that I felt. However, time goes on, and as people, we grow. And if there are any positives to come out of my parents' divorce, it's that my brother and I have bonded the strongest relationship in the world, and for that, I am grateful. Also, I'll strive to never get divorced because I don't want to put my children through what I went through. And for that kind of drive inside me, I'm destined to have a good and fulfilling future.
Cut. Rolling, speed, action.
Thinking, thinking, thinking. Nothing. For whatever reason, it's so hard for me to think my thoughts on paper. I can never find the right words to use. I can never express myself. Most of the time, I just give up. Or by the time I do think of something to say, it's too late. So, I'll just give up. I'll just stay quiet, thinking my thoughts, sitting by myself in the back of the room, always on the edge of the frame, so to speak, wondering what other people are saying without thinking. What would happen if we all just said what's on our mind? Would the world dissolve into chaos? Or might we all gain some insight about our fellow human beings? So I ponder these and many other questions, most of which will never be fully answered. Distracting myself from thinking about how I have nothing to say.
And action.
Thinking, thinking, thinking. Nothing. For some reason, it's so hard for me to think my thoughts on paper. It's just hard for me to express myself in general. I can never find the right words to use. Most of the time I just give up. Or by the time I do think of something, too late. So I'll just stay quiet. Thinking my thoughts, sitting by myself in the back of the room, on the edge of the frame, so to speak, wondering what other people are thinking without saying it. What would happen if we all just said what's on our mind? Would the world dissolve into chaos? Or might we get a little bit of insight on our fellow human beings? So I pondered these and many other questions, most of which never be answered. distracting myself from thinking about how I have nothing to say.
And right in the house, and action.
Oh, sure. Times are tight and you gotta free up cash. Gotta spend money to make money, right? Like that time Mr. Flurney used the company MasterCard to pay for that hooker, and then she used the card numbers to stay at the St. Regis for, what was it, like 3 months? That's $50,000. That's $50,000. That's somebody who's gonna get fired because Craig has to pay women to fuck him. I've been writing for this magazine for 14 years, Brad. 14 years. You've been here how long? A whole month? Oh well, let's just all sell our souls and work for Satan then. Because it's more convenient that way.
Okay.